Coming up on Inside the Game this morning, Dayton head coach Dennis Currier joins us fresh off another NCAA tournament season. The Detroit Tigers lock up a big win. The U.S. men's national team October roster is out, and the U.S. U20s stunned France in a 3-0 victory. All that and more coming up right now.
Welcome to Inside the Game on the National Soccer Network. Now, here are your hosts, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler.
Good morning and welcome back to Inside the Game. This edition 172 here on this Friday, October the 3rd. I'm Jonathan Turner. That's Nathan Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. We're live right now everywhere. Roku, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. It's everywhere. But we have a good show lined up here this morning as we get ready to dive in. I am sporting my Detroit Tigers gear here this morning. I was hating on them pretty hard this week.
We all
I think, rightfully so.
call a sweep.
Yeah, I did call the sweep. By the way, that is true. I was wrong. We were all wrong yesterday.
Yes.
We all said that they were going to lose. They didn't. Ryan specifically lost pretty heavily here yesterday. He was like they're gonna lose. But we were like, yeah, maybe, and he was like really into it. I mean, he has been so over the top lately about his predictions that yesterday he was really dead wrong, and I just want to make sure I called him out for that.
I mean, yeah, I was wrong, but so far this week, I got the Nashville one right, the exact scoreline and who would score the game-winning goal, and then on the USA roster, there was someone that I called last week would be on the roster, and he is weird how that works. Was I lied by you guys that he wouldn't be on the roster and would have been given up?
Don't say you guys. I didn't say anything.
Was I lied?
This is an A and B situation.
I know
This
there was
ain't
no shot that he
APC.
was going to be on the roster, but I guess he was. Interesting.
This guy over here. Man.
Yeah.
I give myself a horn.
This guy over here, this guy. He's so funny. Well, let's dive into this Tigers a little bit this morning. It was tied 1-1 going into the sixth inning. Wow. Dylan Dingler hit a solo home run to give Detroit the lead.
The only Buckeye I like.
Then in the seventh inning rally, a 2 RBI single from Wensiel Perez, Spencer Torkelson RBI single, Riley Green RBI single. Kyle Finnegan earned the win in relief, and Will Vest closed it out. And so the Detroit Tigers have made their way moving on to the next round of the postseason. They'll take on the Seattle Mariners, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
The big dumper. Yeah.
Right,
yeah,
and hey, I mean, is there a chance? As Jim Carrey would say from Dumb and Dumber, is there a chance 1 in a million? Is it 1 million, or is it better than that?
It's better than a 1 in a million.
We'll go back to Nate, because Nate he lives and dies baseball, and his Whitecaps they won it all, and he has the inside look into all things Tigers.
They have a top-ranked pitching staff in Seattle. I mean, they have a lot of really good arms. Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo. But the one thing that you're going to see out of Seattle that you're not going to see out of Cleveland is they know how to hit the baseball too. They won the Eugenio Suarez sweepstakes during the trade deadline. They also have Cal Raleigh, Mr. Big Dumper himself. So this is a squad that can hit and they can throw, and they're not Cleveland. They didn't just sneak in the back door into the playoffs because they're crafty and they have a good bullpen. Like, this is a team that can hurt you. So, yeah, we got past the Guardians. Good. Now we worry about what the next test is, and it's going to be a lot harder than what Cleveland was. And the truth is like, when you talk about what's the biggest roll of the dice in sports, I feel like a 9-inning elimination baseball game is exactly that. Like, any baseball team in the world can get hot for one game. Any baseball team in the world can run into a few good swings when they need them. But now when you talk about getting into it, I think it's a 5-game series in the divisional series. I mean, that's a different ball game. That's a lot longer. That's a marathon. So We'll see how it works out. We'll see how it pans out. I think if our starting pitching remains solid, then I think we have a really good chance. I think if you get the best out of Skubal, Mize, if Flaherty continues to be consistent and, again, doesn't turn around the next time out and fall flat on his face, which, again, it is Seattle, so it's a different story. But if we get that, at least what we saw out of him, and we got Dodgers Flaherty yesterday, which is what we needed. And so do we get Dodgers Flaherty the rest of the way? That's the big question mark in my mind. I believe in this pen, but it really, it has to come down to starting pitching really setting the foundation, and they have to be good because I still don't believe this offense has the sure firepower to will themselves to a World Series appearance or World Series win. They have to be good on the mound. They have no choice.
No doubt. That series will begin, I believe, here starting on Monday, if I'm not mistaken.
Saturday.
Is it Saturday? Is it tomorrow?
I think it's Saturday. Because I know they play Tuesday at home at Comerica Park. So
Okay.
Saturday makes
maybe
the
it'll
most
be
sense.
Yeah, maybe it is Saturday. I didn't realize they're going right out to Seattle, but either way.
And that's a tough place to go
Yes.
play too.
Saturday.
Seattle's a tough place to go
So
play.
Saturday,
Man.
Sunday, and then they have Monday off, Tuesday game.
Tuesday, Wednesday if the Tigers get there. And then Game 5 is back on Friday out in Seattle if they get there, obviously. But I'm already marking Game 1 as a loss. Pitching chaos is not going to do well against the Mariners.
By the way,
I'm
John,
not going to
we all know
predictions
that
yet. No,
Eugenio Suarez is a former Whitecap, West Michigan Whitecap.
I would have imagined just because he was a
That's your
Tiger.
fun
And his
fact.
first
Yeah,
career
it was.
hit was a home run. So
He actually came to my Spanish class once upon a time. He actually was a
shout out.
guest appearance.
All right, so predictions. Do we all here, as of right now, predict that the Tigers will not win this series? Is that what we're all predicting right now?
Tigers losing 4.
Tigers losing 4. Nate?
I'm feeling good. I'll say they lose in 5. I think it goes to length. I think they lose in 5.
You know what? I'm going to hop on this damn bandwagon.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
gonna
Yeah.
do it.
Let's go.
I'm going to do it, man.
Ray of sunshine
I was
today.
so hating on them here like all last week. I expect them to sweep. They didn't do that. Now I there's some hope. You know, I'll ride that hope bagway. You know, hey, you know, there's some bandages on it though, right there. You know, they got some crutches, maybe. You know, a bit of a wheelchair.
We got to cross the river.
But I'm gonna go with the Tigers winning the series. And they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it in 5. I'm gonna go with them.
Yeah.
So
Heck
we'll see.
Positivity.
Positivity.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. Okay, so we have a great show, as I talked about before. Dennis Courier from Dayton, men's soccer program, will join us. 21 years at the helm for the Flyers. We had a chance to talk with him yesterday afternoon, so that interview coming up here on the other side of our break. We'll also get into the U.S. men's national team 26-man roster that was released yesterday. You can actually check out that full roster on our website, thenationalsoccernetwork.com. We'll also dive into the fact the U20s stunning France here yesterday. They did so with 3 second half goals that we'll dive into that here as well. But coming up here on the other side of the break, we'll be joined by Dennis Courier, the Dayton Flyers men's head soccer coach, coming up here right after this.
The NISA Pro Cup draw. 8 teams, 1 trophy. Find out who matches up when the draw goes live at 8 p.m. Eastern, streaming exclusively on the National Soccer Network. The road to the Pro Cup begins live tonight at 8 p.m.
Experience the thrill that came like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
seen that multiple times, including the recent seasons, and you'll be.
Welcome back to Inside the Game. I'm Jonathan Turner, Nathan Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, our producer. We're excited to have another head coach here join us this morning to talk college soccer. Dennis Currier, the men's soccer coach at Dayton, will be joining us here in just a moment. And Nathan, before we bring in Dennis, the A10 and that conference and the conference we talked to about all across this country, very much relevant in 2025.
And very much competitive and tough to navigate. But the truth is that he's found a way to do that at Dayton, and we've seen that multiple times, including the recent seasons. And you look back at obviously his resume, and he's been there for a long time too. And I think that's going to be another exciting element to this conversation because you mentioned how many interviews that we've done with coaches and a good mix of, into their first year, second year, but we've also had the opposite. We had Bob Butehorn, who had been at USF for quite some time, and getting into his head and figuring out, exactly what's kept him around at USF for that length of time, but what's led to their success over that stretch of time. I think all those questions still pertain specifically to this conversation. So I think Dennis is going to give us a lot of good info. I'm looking forward to it.
No question about that. In his 21st season at the helm of the Flyers, Curry has built Dayton into a perennial Atlantic 10 contender. His resume includes 6 conference titles, 6 NCAA tournament appearances, and multiple national rankings, including a program best number 16 in 2022. We're now joined by the head coach of the Dayton Flyers, Dennis Currier. Welcome to Inside the Game.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you stopping on by here on this morning here, and something that we always like to dive into. We've been kind of going back and forth about this. Ryan Glinsky just talked about how Dayton is known for its St. Patrick's Day celebrations. I remember going there as a kid, playing at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in the annual Dayton Soccer Classic, or whatever it's called. I played that every year Memorial Day weekend. But we went to downtown Dayton, and we had there's like a spaghetti factory, if I'm not mistaken, whatever it was called. But we always like to talk about food here. And my first question for you is, what is your favorite place to go eat in the Dayton area, either after a game or just, hey, on a Friday night?
Yeah, I mean, typically I have my home cooked meals for my wife, which are the best. But if we're going to restaurants, there's so many local ones down here on Brown Street, and the Spaghetti Factory is actually one of our choices, especially for the team. So during preseason, I always tell the assistants to get the Spaghetti Factory over here at Dayton. But it's known for so many good places, and there's Flanagan's right down the road. But you have to avoid that during St. Pat's Day because there's probably 10,000 people, small room there.
So what's your favorite home cooked meal?
My wife does great pasta, but I love seafood because I'm a big fisherman. So she cooks up a lot of the fish that I catch in the summertime. And so redfish and, steamer pots. I mean, I've been a huge fisherman all my life. So, she does a great job cooking those.
Just had salmon recently, but anyways, go ahead, JT. I'm a big seafood guy myself as well.
Oh, yeah. I would definitely agree with that statement as well. Huge seafood fan myself. Hey, so let's dive into college soccer here, Dennis. Obviously at Dayton, A10, it's not considered a Power 5 school, but I know that you have a lot of players that come down and have success there in Dayton. Last year was a phenomenal year for you. You guys had a chance to go the furthest you've ever gone in the NCAA tournament. We saw the likes of Vermont do something similar last year, right? What was the success last year? How did you guys get there? What was the recipe?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things involved with success. And, last year we had a lot of guys that have been with the program. Leadership is so big, and, we had great leaders on the team. But you also had some individual performances. Our right back scored 8 goals, and that's very rare to have that. And I think that one of the statements that was made earlier was that to navigate through the A10, and that's such a great statement because you really do have to navigate through a very unique schedule, and you have to qualify for the A10 tournament, just to get there. So you're playing some unique places, and you have to travel in many different states and many different types of styles of play. Last year, once we lost to Jacksonville, I think it was 3-0. We outshot them, 28-4 or 5. But, at that time, you're like, oh, man, this could be rough. But then soon after, we beat Indiana on the road. And I think when you get a signature win like that, it gives you confidence. And then from there, we just started to roll. We had so many different guys that can score. So we're extremely dangerous. We played 2 guys high and wide, and, we had the 2 10s that would drop underneath. And so if the center backs followed them, we'd be able to hit the ball, into one of the wingers, and they were very good at 1v1. If they didn't follow them, we could play underneath and possess until we found the outlet out wide. And, I just think it was really hard to shut us down. I think we had, almost 5 or 6 guys that scored 8 goals. And, we just started to roll, and we got on a hot streak, and we kept it going and all the way, to the Sweet 16. And, it's just an awesome season. But, with that, you had several older guys and leaders that, were seniors, and they'd been through the program and they've been through the process. And, once they do that, they start to really play for the university and understand college soccer and all the ups and downs through it. And that plays a really big role in your success, along with having very talented players. So, a lot of those guys went on to the next level after the season. And, it's just a really amazing experience, especially being here for, 20 plus years, and seeing the crowds come out, and the administration and the school just getting behind us, and having that experience was really rewarding.
We talk a lot about the dynamics and how things have changed here over the last many years as it relates to the college game and specifically the men's game as well. And when we talk about like kids growing up and where they want to play, right? If I look back at my high school soccer career, first of all, I don't know if I even knew Dayton existed as far as like a school in my mind, right? Obviously, I knew it existed as far as a school, but as a dream, I was like, I want to go play for the University of Michigan, right? Kids growing up in Ohio or like Ohio State, maybe, which by the way, boo to Ohio State, but
yeah, damn straight, boo them.
but maybe there's dreams of other universities, and where does Dayton fit into that as far as the player who's playing right now in the high school environment? And why would they want to pick Dayton as their destination?
Yeah, you're exactly right. There's programs that we call them branded programs that when you grow up and you're thinking of Michigan or Ohio State here in Ohio, and I think that's part of building a program is you're trying to brand it, and you have to work a little bit harder when you're a mid-major or you're not in the ACC, and that was started back when I got here, and I think the one word you used was dream. And I've been a huge dreamer. I started dreaming when I was at Harris-Stowe State College. My first day of coaching, and telling them we're going to go after a national championship, and I think the team had won just 2 games in 3 years. But that's what you have to do. And I was a big dreamer here at Dayton, and trying to brand the program all the way down to, our jerseys. They always say, where's Waldo jerseys? And, you want to brand your program, even the style of play, which I think is unique, is we're a very high tempo attacking team. We are nationally ranked in goals scored year in, year out. Not so much this year, but we're working on it. And, we want student athletes to understand, that playing style can be very important, and trying to let them know about fit. Fit is so important, finding that right program. And yes, we have to work a little bit harder. But, with that being said, when you look at Dayton as a mid-major, I think we're one of 9 schools with MLS draftees over the past 5 years. And, with that, we are located in a fantastic area. We got FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew. We've got Chicago Fire, Nashville. We've got a couple of regional scouts in this area. So, the guys that have that ambition to play pro, which most of them do, Now, because the pro game has evolved and gotten so much bigger since my time, and it's actually a reality, that's a big selling point, from an athletic standpoint, and that you're going to be coming here and getting exposed to the next level. And we also have, the results for it. We have I think right behind me is all the books with the guys that have gone on to play at the next level. So that's a really big thing. And being a really good environment of facilities, and we're an Olympic sport here at Dayton. So, but we have to sell that, because you're exactly right. When you grow up, when I grew up, I was thinking St. Louis University. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if the ADs want me to say this, but when they called me, first off, I thought it was Louisville, and I was at Incarnate Word, and the phone rang, and I saw that Louisville was on the, was looking for a coach, and they left a message, and then I called Ted Kissel and Tim Wobbler back, and they're like, "Yeah, we're from the University of Dayton." I was like, "Oh, where is Dayton?" And when I came on campus, the first thing they did, which was the smartest thing they did, was bring me to the field. And I don't know if you've seen our field, but it's arguably one of the top 5 fields in terms of the venue and the European terrace seating. It's just a really cool environment. So right when I went out there, I could see myself coaching, and I could see myself in that. And it's like, now I just got to get this. I got to get student athletes that maybe don't grow up dreaming about playing at Dayton to come here on our campus and see what it's like. And that's I think for Dayton, that's the brand, along with the playing style, along with the pros that we're consistently, spitting out into the MLS and USL. That's a big piece of what we're trying to get out to those student athletes, and have them, take a look and say, okay, yes, I'm looking at Ohio State, but let me look at Dayton. Let me see this. And we've gotten a lot more, recruiting battles that we probably didn't get into, earlier on in my career.
I was never athletic enough, big enough, strong enough to ever be considered by a Division I program to play a sport. All right, I'm 5'8" on a good day, but one of my favorite things about interviewing coaches is I get that feeling of almost kind of like being a recruit, because I get to hear the entire pitch. Because I'm sure you've made that entire pitch multiple times, time and time again, and you pretty much touched on everything in that last handful of minutes. I mean, environment, community, results, location, everything about Dayton that makes it wonderful. I was curious, because I did want to ask about this specifically, and we were just looking at some of the highlights of you guys against Michigan and the big crowd that was out there. I'm from an area of the country here in the west side of the state of Michigan. I went to a Catholic school growing up, so we've had a lot of friends, a lot of family that have gone to Dayton for school and have been a part of that environment and a part of that community. The one aspect that I wanted to ask you about is school pride and turnout and support for the program, because you're right, at Dayton it just feels different. When you're there, when you're a part of it, there is this overwhelming sense of pride, and a lot of alums still carry that pride even into their life after school. What's that aspect like, the school pride part of being a part of a school and a program like Dayton?
Yeah, and I think this is tied in together. One of the words you used was community. We're not a commuter school, so everybody lives on campus. So you have all, 9 to 10,000 students that are living on campus. And, the soccer field is actually essentially in the middle of campus, which is even better. So, like you take St. Pat's Day, everybody's walking right past the field, and why not just stop in and take a look? And I also think winning is, it's contagious. It brings excitement and energy. And as we started to win, we knocked off West Virginia 5-1. They're ranked number 1 in the country, and and then all of a sudden the crowd starts to really pour in, and they're like, hey, we got to check this out. But there's the pride of the students for all the sports. You look at basketball; it's sold out. Even before the season begins. Volleyball has huge crowds. So all the students like to be involved in all the aspects of the university, including athletics. And, it's great to have that. Plus the local area of soccer and their families, they're very involved, and we get out into the community a lot as well. All the sports do. We do a lot of community service. and getting out there, and all that part is tied in together for the big crowds. And if you got to see the Michigan game, I mean, not only was the the stands packed, but we ran out of seating, so the parking lot also had, was completely packed. And,
Wow.
there's a very lively environment here on, the weekends and the nights. And, I think people have seen that with St. Patty's celebration. So there was that kind of connected from the field into the housing that all the students live in. We have 452 houses that the juniors and seniors live in. So it was just, it was amazing just to kind of sit where I was and see that support, coming out against Michigan, and then being able to win the game, which was, phenomenal, because, as a coach, you're just so nervous. Here we got all these fans coming out, and, we might
Right.
lose the game. So.
Yeah, I think people like seeing competitive ball too. I think that's the other thing. If you're competitive, if you're always in games, if you're exciting to watch, I think your style of play certainly speaks to people enjoying watching you. And that would certainly be the case for us, because I love everything you were talking about from a play style perspective. That would create a product that is exciting to come out and watch. I wanted to ask you, though, because we have talked about the A-10, and obviously you've been at Dayton for a while. Throughout the course of your career, who has given you the most heartburn in terms of another program in the A-10? Who's given you the most heartaches in terms of an opponent?
Well, I've always had a tough time losing. I mean, I've always wanted to win. I think when growing up in St. Louis and coaching, for 9 years at Harris Stowe, which is really right across from St. Louis University. And there's a long story about it, but I grew up in admiring St. Louis, and, a couple years into my coaching career, St. Louis joined the conference, so this was a huge ordeal for me, and I think Dayton was 0-12-1 against St. Louis before. So I wanted to make that the rival. This was going to be they're probably going to watch this. We play them Saturday and we, use it for motivation. But that's always been, a special place, because when we travel there and I'm sitting at their bench, I'm looking across, seeing where I started coaching at Harris Stowe State College. And
Wow.
So that's a very, I have to pinch myself doing that, because, that it's a small, historically Black college of, 1,200 students. And knowing I started there, and here I am playing against, St. Louis is just really amazing. So anytime we lose to them at their place, that's going to hurt a little bit, because a lot of my family comes out, and all the previous student athletes that I coached are coming out and watching as well. So,
Hey, Coach.
That's awesome.
Ryan here, and I got one question for you. You're entering your 21st season here at Dayton, and what is one thing that has stayed? Actually, one thing that has changed, and one thing that has not changed in your 21 years at Dayton, whether that's a coaching philosophy, a recruiting pitch, the way that you play, what type of player that you're looking at? What is one thing that has changed, and one thing that hasn't changed?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think the big thing is, because, I started coaching at 21 years old, and so I've been coaching ever since I got out of college. And obviously the game has really evolved. And I think as a coach, you have to evolve as well. I mean, the 1980s motivation still works at times, but you also have to evolve a little bit. So coming, since the start of 2005, coming into Dayton, I don't know if playing style is as important to the student athletes now. Like, that's become a big part. And so we've always been a very high end attacking team, but I think you have to brand that. You have to really show that through your videos, and it is exciting. What's the most exciting thing about soccer is scoring goals. And that's probably the biggest emphasis that's changed, is we have to really hit on this style of play. And because this is where, this is important to student athletes, and that's a really big part of the recruitment, is they want to go to a place. a lot of them want to go to a place where you are building at the back, you are attacking, you are, especially when you're an attacking player, wide guys, wingers, the wingers that come to Dayton, they're getting onto the ball a lot because we're playing, we're a wide team. We're getting them isolated. We're getting them positions where they can take on guys and score. I think the question of what hasn't changed is, involvement is very big for a coach, and modernizing yourself and staying up with the trends and, understanding the needs of student athletes, and now the house settlement, all this crazy stuff's coming in. But the one thing that won't change, that I've been, since the day one, is the intangibles. It is really, really important that these kids go through, understand the intangibles, the work ethic, the leadership, and that the part that they have to go through that process. And, the portal does make it a lot easier to remove yourself from the process. And we're always telling guys, you have to get through that process. And if you can get through that process, as you guys probably know, you become a better person, and you are able to take on the next stage of your life, which isn't always pro soccer. It might be something else. So that has been something that's instilled in the program that we will always have, is just making sure they understand that those intangibles are so important, and that work ethic and that fitness, the leadership, all that stuff still, it will always be so important. And really, emphasize to them, like, don't leave the process. Like, a lot of times when things get tough, you're only going to become better if you can get through that. As opposed to leaving it and thinking that it's not going to happen somewhere else. Get through that tough times, because then you will be able to handle adversity and be able to understand, how to tackle and find solutions to your problems. And, I see that over, I mean, I've coached for so long, but, so many stories of those student athletes being able to get through that process and seeing them grow and develop. Joseph Meltaquia, who was just recently drafted, was a big part of it. Like, he went through some difficult times as a junior, and, he stayed here, and he got through that process, and then just absolutely killed it. He's probably one of the best wingers in college soccer last year, as a senior, and then ended up getting drafted in the MLS now. So, that part will always stay the same.
First off, we truly appreciate you stopping on by here this morning and being a part of Inside the Game. We've had a chance to talk to a lot of great coaches and get some great insight as to what makes the college environment so awesome to be a part of, and it's really obviously refreshing to be able to have a chance to listen to what you have to say here this morning. My last question for you is this. We talked about this obviously earlier when I was asking you about dream, and you had talked about your dreams and talking about what your dream is as far as branding Dayton, right? I mean, I would say this isn't an anomaly. We've talked to a lot of coaches who've been at programs for a long time, right? But in a world in which everything's always changing, and people are always coming and saying, hey, I want the next best thing, right? Players are doing that, coaches are doing that, but you found your home in Dayton, and I think that's a really, really cool thing. So my question for you is this. Looking at your entire career and looking at what you've been able to accomplish, what is your single greatest accomplishment as a coach?
That is, it would be unfair to me to say one specific thing. My journey has been amazing. I started from the NAIA, I went into Division II, and then I went into Division I. And, I think the journey itself, starting from really probably the worst NAIA team in the country at the time, being able to, vie for a national title there, going into Division II, and we get into vying for a national title there. Tim Wilder, Ted Kissel called me about Dayton. I told my wife, I said, listen, there was a fear, of going into Division I. I said, just get ready to pack up in, 5 years. I think it was a 5-year deal. I was like, because I don't know if we're going to be able to make it here. I'll be, moving on. So now here I am, the most tenured coach at Dayton. I really think the accomplishment of the journey and going through and all the trials and tribulations that you go through, the ups and downs of coaching. But, I think if you had to pick individual ones, I've always loved championships. Championships, excite myself and schools, and the student athletes create this additional bond that will never be broken. And it's like, you are trying to climb up a mountain every single year. And then, you get close to the summit and it seems like, oh, we're so close. So, it's going to be easy. But that last part of it to get to that peak is so hard to do. And, you have to have so much trust with each other and build bridges over muddy water and just get to that top. And then when you're there, the view is like the best view you've ever seen. And so, it's hard to pick any single accomplishment. I would just say, as a whole, the journey, now that I'm older and you start to reflect, just looking back at where I started and all the trials and tribulations at Harris Stowe and Incarnate Word and then Dayton, has just been amazing. And coming to Dayton, thinking, oh, I don't know if I could do it in Division I. You hear all these stories. I think first time I got hired, I was at a recruiting event, and the coaches didn't know who I was, and I'd overheard this guy say, "Who got hired at Dayton?" They're like, "Oh, it's a D2 guy," and they're like, "Oh, well, he's got a rude awakening," and I'm like, "Oh no." So, and here I am 21 years later, and it's just the journey itself has been inspiring, and that's probably the best accomplishment, I guess, is that tenure and doing it for this long, because I never knew I would do it for this long. I never knew I'd get into coaching. So it's like still going here, still hungry, and still enjoy the chase.
Dennis, thank you very much for being a part of us here this morning. The Flyers currently 3-1-5 overall, 2-0-1 in the A10, and they're looking to have much success here the rest of the way.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. Go Flyers.
It all kicks off October 13th on the National Soccer Network.
Boost your brand with NSN's live soccer broadcast, reaching a passionate audience in real time. Engage fans during thrilling soccer matches. Maximize visibility with tailored ad packages. Add 30-second or 60-second commercials for concise, impactful messaging and greater audience connection. Call 586-304-4405 and start your campaign today.
Welcome back here to Inside the Game on this Friday morning, and a great conversation there with Dennis Currier, the men's soccer head coach at Dayton and the Flyers. And he has that team flying high. Another
Literally and
dad joke, right? But yeah, no, I mean, hey, 21 years at the helm there in Dayton. He even alluded to the fact that maybe when he got that first phone call, he wasn't quite sure where it was coming from. I even thought it was from Louisville himself, right? As he alluded to that as well. But hey, once he got on campus and realized what it was all about, he was locked in. And so, great story from him, from our conversation yesterday. And
and it's amazing what facilities can do for you. Good facilities and also a good community backing. And I think they have both of that at Dayton. Like I said, I know a good handful of people who either played athletics there, had a teacher who played football there. I actually know 2 people who played football at Dayton. But, other students, one of my best friends growing up was a student there for the longest time. It's different. It's something's different in the air down in Dayton, Ohio. So as much as I despise the state of Ohio sometimes, as good Michiganders we do, there's a lot of good stuff to offer at Dayton.
That there is. Let's dive here into this morning into the U.S. men's national team. Their 26-man roster was released here yesterday. Here's a look at it right here for their October camp. Again, they're playing on October the 10th versus Ecuador in Austin, Texas. And then on October 14th, they'll be a little earlier today. We get a little message. Look at us. But October 14th versus Australia. That game will be in Commerce City, Colorado. Veteran core, Pulisic, 80 caps. Reams, 77. McKennie, 60. Turner, 52. Anthony Robinson has 50. So that's that veteran core. Breakout performers, Diego Luna, Patrick Ajimang, Max Arston are obviously on this roster. Again, notable returns, Robinson, Carter Vickers, McKennie, Tessman, which I know that our very own Ryan Glinsky was excited about. Schulte and Sands as well. Some key players who are missing, though. Tyler Adams excused due to family situation. Musa. Is it Musa?
Musa.
Thank you.
Musa.
Josh Sargent, Ricardo Pepi, Reyna, and Dest also not on there, along with Joe Scally. Pepi, Reyna, and Dest are currently injured or recovering from injuries. And so there's the roster for the upcoming October camps here. And, is there anything about this roster that is concerning to anyone? I'll start with you, Nathan.
No, I mean, listen, my biggest thing, and I talked to Ryan about this, last time that, him and I were kind of running the show. I think we talked about roster construction and what this team needed back in order to, just pieces that we haven't seen yet that we really needed to see. I don't know if there's anything concerning. I will seeing Tessman on there was cool because I think we both mentioned, and I know Ryan's kind of winding up for his opportunity to talk about this and get in on the action, but the guy's been playing well. And so I'm happy that he's getting an opportunity. I mentioned when we talked last, Ryan and I, that getting Anthony Robinson back was probably the most important component of, figuring out what this team actually looks like. In his position, in his back position in the Premier League, I mean, he's one of the best. He's top 5 in the Premier League. So, the knee injury is something that could easily derail a career. So that's why I'm hoping that it doesn't end up nagging him, because if you're missing Jedi Robinson in the World Cup, I just think that's going to hurt for the U.S. men's national team. I think he's one of the best in his position in the top league in the world. And I think not having his services has kind of left this team high and dry at certain times. So I think he could make a huge difference. Outside of that, I mean, I think there's a lot to like about it. Was Zendejas on that list? Is he?
Yes.
He's in the, okay. So he's back, which is awesome. You got to see that. Flo Balogun's back, which obviously, so there's a lot to like about it. I think the whole Tanner Tessman thing is probably the focus of the conversation today, or will be the focus of the conversation. But it's good to see Jedi back too. I know he was a big part.
Well, I mean, Tessman, I don't know if he's the main. I mean, for Ryan, it will be. It will be. As we're all sitting here and talking about this roster and what this specific month of friendlies represents, I truly, truly believe that it's like this window and November, like this is your last chance. I feel like, right? This is your last chance in these friendlies to make an impact, to solidify a position, a role going into the World Cup. I mean, the window is the opportunity is slim, and so hey. Pochettino would be not doing his job properly if he wasn't giving players a chance who are having impact in their current environments.
Right.
I would argue that Tessman's, his impact right now, he's got 1 goal this season for Lyon.
No, he's got like 3, I think, for Leon.
Leon, I don't. According to the stats I just looked up, it said he has 1. But again, if he's got more than 1, great. Again, if he can go out there and produce here this upcoming friendlies, then that obviously puts him in a light. We talked about
He's
whether
got
or not
2.
he's got 2.
Yeah.
And so, hey, giving him a chance, it's good. But do I think he'll make the roster? I don't. But again, you gotta give him a look. And if you're gonna give him a look, this is the best time to do it because you have Australia, Ecuador. Those are two good teams, and for us to go out and see what we can do. My thing is this: is what do we expect out of this window too? All right,
2 wins.
Do we expect 2 wins?
Absolutely, 2 wins.
Yeah,
If
I
you're
mean,
not-
that should be.
If
Yeah.
you're not beating Ecuador in Australia, then what are we doing? Like those are 2 teams that you could absolutely see as the 3rd seed in your group, and you've got to win both of them. And like if they don't win 2 games, then I mean, do they even get out of the group in the World Cup at that point? Because these are 2 wins. Yeah, some of your guys aren't here. Like there's no Joe Scally, there's no Tyler Adams, who I believe should be the captain of this team. But if you don't win these games, like what are we absolutely doing? And Tanner Tessman, to his point, who I was vouching for, there is no Yunus Musa in this roster. There is no Tyler Adams in this roster. And what if it comes down to when it comes to June, one of those guys are injured and they can't play? Tessman is going to have to step up and play in that spot. And absolutely that could happen with Musa and Tyler Adams, given, some of their injury history. And I would Tessman is put in a spot where he's got to make an impression. No matter what he's doing at Lyon, he's got to make an impression. Ajaman's got to make an impression. Aronson's got to make an impression. Luna's got to make an impression with the big guys.
Yeah.
Haji Wright is another guy. I know he's been playing really well for Coventry, but those are guys where they're on their last spot. Like this is their last chance. You've got to make it count. A couple of these guys, a couple of the mainstays are out with injuries or personal reasons. Look at Dest, Tyler Adams, Musa. Those are normal stays on the roster. If they're not there, these guys have got to make an impression if they want to be on the World Cup roster.
Well, my question is this,
Yeah.
too, right? We're looking at this roster. Okay, so Josh Sargent, who's not currently on the team, he'll be on the World Cup roster, right? Anyone
I
have
think
any
as a
questions?
backup.
As a backup, but he'll be on the roster.
I think so. If
I
he's
think it makes
healthy.
the top. Okay, so we think that Josh Sargent's going to make the 26. Okay, do we think that Pepe is making the 26?
I believe so. I think
Okay.
those are. I think those
Dest.
2 in Dest will absolutely.
Okay, Musa,
I would hope. I'd hope.
Tyler Adams for sure, right?
He better.
Okay,
be.
so Tyler Adams, Dest are your for sure's of that. Joe Scally.
I personally think he should be on this roster. It's up to Pochettino to decide if he is.
Fair enough. So out of those 7 who are not currently coming to this camp, there's 2 there that we believe 100% will be on the roster. A couple others that are maybe above 50% chance, give or take. And I didn't mention Reyna in there. Reyna, is he? We've talked about how he's looking from the outside in. And so if that's the case, then it's probably less than 50% chance he makes this roster.
It's up to Reyna what he does. If Reyna decides to, again, he's got to stay healthy. He's got to be on the field for Mönchengladbach, and he's got to make this next camp in November. He's got to make it, or I think there's a March camp. He's got to make one of those 2 camps, especially preferably November. If he doesn't make it, I think we're looking at like a 10% chance that he actually makes the roster.
So we look at this goalkeeper wise, Matt Freese, Turner, right? Those are your, at this point, we believe those are your for sure goalkeepers.
Yeah, there's
Chris Brady and Schulte. I mean, as a third keeper, I don't know. Take your pick.
but I'm not looking at the 3rd goalkeeper.
I'm not either. But I mean, if you're talking about a spot for the 26-man roster, you're going to carry 3 goalkeepers.
You will.
Yep. So so you're going to carry 3. You're going to dress 2. Right? I think you dress 2 in the World Cup. You're not going to dress 3. All right. So you're going to dress 2. Arston makes this roster.
I think he does, and really because Pochettino mentioned during the U.S. Open Cup final against Nashville and Austin the other day, where he was experimenting, which again I think he should stop with the experiments now. Like he mentioned experimenting with different formations, and I thought Arvston, especially in that Japan game, again, I don't know if maybe it was just the Columbus home cooking, maybe Japan didn't have all their main guys out there, but Arvston really thrived in that 3-4-3 wingback position, and if that's the formation that Pochettino wants to play going forward, then Arvston should absolutely be on this roster.
Okay, so then we'll go in now to Carter's Vickers.
In the center back position, it's whoever we can fit next to Chris Richards, because Chris Richards is an absolute staple in this starting 11, especially with the way he's been playing in Crystal Palace, being one of the best center backs in the league, like a top 10 center back in the Premier League. It's about finding the next best fit next to Chris Richards. And I don't know who that is yet.
Yeah.
McKennie.
He should be.
Yeah,
Ream.
absolutely.
Ream, I think so, just with veteran leadership.
Yeah. And you
Obviously-
need that, too, because he was in the World Cup in 22 as well.
Obviously, Robinson.
100%.
Yeah.
If he's not on it, then just
we
pack
might
your
be
bags,
in
go
trouble. Right.
The other Robinson.
home. Miles Robinson?
Yeah.
Miles Robinson?
Yeah. Miles
Uh,
Robinson.
I personally would have some people ahead of him.
Okay, so you're not saying it.
He's kind of middle of the pack. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's a maybe. He's a bubble player.
Yeah.
Same with Patrick Ajiman. I was going to say that. You talk about last chances. I mean, like, Ajiman needs to prove something to us.
And he's
You know,
from
after
Little
watching
Rhodey.
him. What's that?
And he's from Little Rhodey.
He's from Little Rhodey. All right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well,
He's
the reason
one
I
of
want to do
those
this is
guys.
I just want to see how many spots are up for grabs.
Yeah.
Freeman.
That's a bubble.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
From
a
an
bubble.
orange.
Yeah, bubble
All right, so
player. I
Aronson.
agree.
That's a bubble as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Luna.
I think a bubble.
Bubble, I think he's on the roster. I would hope, at least. That maybe not starting, but I would hope that he at least
McKennie.
makes the roster.
McKennie.
Well, he's on it.
McKennie's
Weston
on the roster.
McKennie? Yeah.
Yep. Morris.
This is his last shot.
Yeah. I think he's in that group with Patrick Ajiman.
Roldan.
Same with that. No, he's more bubble.
Bubble.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's a bubble, but clearly Mauricio Pochettino sees something in Christian Roldan. Like, if
That's
he
why I
continues to make reappearances and he continues to put him in there, I mean, he's been serviceable. He hasn't been, like, amazing, but clearly he likes him.
Okay. Sands.
Last chance.
Yeah.
Last chance.
Likewise.
Okay. Tillman.
Should be on the roster.
Yeah, should be on the rest. Should be starting.
And
in
what
my
I say
opinion.
for Tillman, what I want to see in this camp specifically is, can he play that number 10 role? If we're not going to play Christian Pulisic in the middle like we want, and Tillman should preferably be out wide, but if not, I want Tillman in the number 10 role.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You guys mentioned Ajimang already kind of in a bubble. Balogun.
Should be on the roster. Should be a starter.
Yeah, 100%.
Tim Ware.
He's our.
Starter roster.
Yeah.
Haji.
Same boat as Pepe and Sargent.
Okay. Zendejas.
Starter.
Starter. How
Wow.
so?
That kid's been on an absolute tear this season. He literally told Mauricio Pochettino said this to the media too. He goes, literally, the way that Zendejas is playing right now is making him reconsider everything that he thought he knew about the crop of players that he has. And he kind of came up in that same vein as Christian Pulisic, like kind of same timing and everything too. They played together for pretty much their entire professional career. So that's someone who actually has a lot of familiarity with Christian Pulisic, and obviously this team too. But the way he's playing has changed. When the manager says he's changed everything about the way he looks at a team because of the way you're playing, I think that's he's probably a difference maker. I would put him in the starting
I wouldn't
spot.
go starter yet.
No, I wouldn't
No?
go start. But
Way
okay.
and Pulisic are ahead of him. Again,
as
good-
of
it's a good
right now,
problem to
though,
have.
as of right now, though, based on what we just said, that's 13 players that are as what we consider to be above 99% to make the roster. Okay, if I put Zendejas in there, that's 14. Okay, I put him as a bubble player mainly because again but we can say okay, 99% chance he makes. That's 14 players. That leaves us with 12.
Is that 14 players from this exact October camp?
That's pulling in the players from the
I
roster as well as players who are not
Okay.
on the roster
Gotcha.
based on
Okay.
missing. So it's 14 players that we would say have above 90% chance of being a shoe-in to be on the roster. Goalkeepers, defenders, midfielders, forwards. Leaving out players like Carter Vickers, Freeman, Miles Robinson, Aronson, Luna, Morris, Roldan, Sands, Tessman, Ajimang, and Wright. which again we said that they were Wright probably has a more probable chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we were to say between Ajimang and Wright, who has it right now? Probably Wright.
Yeah, I would say so.
Right.
Yeah.
So if
Ajimon didn't impress me really in the World Cup. I'm being completely honest.
At all. Yeah.
All right. So right now, if we were to give it to anybody in the forward department, it would be Wright over Ajimang.
Yes.
Okay. In the midfielder department, we've got Aronson, Luna, Morris, Rodon, and Sands and Tessman. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 midfielders who are up for grabs. My guess would be just based on what we know, we're probably seeing 3 or 4 of them would make this roster.
Yes.
Right. Now, again, if we look at who's missing, right? Reyna. Josh Sargent's up top.
Yes.
I mean, so would he drop in the midfield? I don't think you'd put him in the midfield. So Pepe, right? I mean, Pepe midfielder, right?
No.
Up top.
No, Pepe's a striker.
He's a forward.
No, I know, but again,
He's a forward.
we think about it. Where would he fall in? Again, and just asking this question.
Probably not in the midfield.
Musa.
I mean, at least I wouldn't put him there.
Moose is a midfielder.
Okay,
Musa,
so
yeah. Yep.
Musa would be in that mix. Okay, so Aronson and Luna.
See, Aronson, the way he's playing. See, all right, Luna. I know that's your guy, Nate, and I'm not taking anything of him scoring goals against Guatemala. I do not care for that.
No, I agree.
But-
Yeah, I agree.
But when you're the guy against Mexico, and I know Mexico was not a great performance, especially by anyone in the USA. But when you
Yeah.
disappear for a whole game, like, dude didn't touch the ball. Dude didn't do a damn thing. And
Yeah.
that scares me. And I
Yep.
would give the nod again to Aronson because when Luna is supposed to be out there, he disappears. And I'm looking back at the Japan game. Luna didn't do anything again. And I know Aronson is not like
He
this.
put one up on a silver platter late in that game, though. I mean, it didn't end up going in, but I'm just saying.
And
Guys, I mean, we
yeah.
can go. I don't want to dissect this completely.
I would give the nod to Aronson, and
Okay.
especially what his manager said this past week. I would give
That's not ridiculous
I'm
to
giving
say.
the nod to
That's
Aronson over Luna.
Yeah, that's not a ridiculous thing to say at all.
All right, so Aronson gets the nod over Luna. Okay, so you got Morris and Roldan.
Rolled on,
Roldan.
Yeah,
okay.
Roldan,
Sands,
probably,
Tessman.
Tessman.
Yeah, probably. Honestly,
Okay.
probably Tanner Tessman. Yeah.
Okay, and so that's Aronson, it's Roldan, and it's Tessman. That's 3. There's one more up for grabs between Luna, Morris, Sands, and then you throw in there, I think Musa, which I think we already said Musa would maybe get that
Yeah.
as well.
I thought you were going to say Gio Reyna. I would give a Diego Luna over Gio Reyna right now.
Okay. Well, Rain is also in the
He's
mix.
in the
Yeah,
mix.
but
I'd
I mean,
still take Musa.
okay. So again, this is where we start to dissect all of this, right? Because we're looking and saying, okay, who's going to be the one of these 12 players who makes this final roster? And right now, it's you better see those players on the field.
Yeah,
That's why
fine.
I'm saying that winning right now. Again, winning as much as I want to win. Do we want to eliminate players who aren't going to be on this roster? And so, does winning in this window, is it more important than that?
I guess, yeah, if you put it that way, yeah, I don't think winning is the most absolute thing. But if you lose to an Australia, dude, like, what are we doing?
Well, again,
Yeah,
if you
winning
leave it out
shows
there.
progress too. I mean, like that's the other thing. Like winning shows that you're actually finding the combination, or you're the players that you're trusting in those spots are coming through and executing. Like I still want to see our role guys come through and make an impact. Like if they're going to be out on the field and they're going to be in live reps, and that to the point about Tanner Tessman, like I think that's the benefit of actually having him on this roster because it gives him international experience, which is very valuable if you talk about putting him in that position to figure out whether or not he'll be on that 2026 World Cup roster. So yeah, getting dudes reps is good, but winning is a sign of progress.
Yeah, I'm
So
excited for next Friday. I'm excited.
yeah, it'll be good.
All right. Well, again, a week from today, they'll have their first match. That one again is going to be against Ecuador in Austin, Texas, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on TNT, HBO Max, True TV, Universal Peacock. It's on like 9 places. And then on October the 14th, it'll be versus Australia in Colorado. Again, same lineup as far as TV networks. Big news coming out last night. Taylor Swift dropped her new album at midnight last night.
Did she really?
She did. I have
She
no
did.
idea what it's all about. I know
Same.
everyone was talking about it here last night, so I'm curious what's the new soundtrack. But to all those Swifties out there, congratulations! You guys get a new album here today that you get to dive into and be a part of. What is our question of the day?
Yeah, our question of the day, but obviously before we get there, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. You'll see them a little bit later on National Soccer Network today as well, especially at 8 o'clock. Make sure you use promo code NSN15 to save 15%. Scan that QR code because we know everyone nowadays loves that QR code. Visit Salt Athletics. I'm getting there. There we go. Look at that. That's right where the draw is. Right in those where the envelopes are. I know I was getting there. But question of the day. Who's the biggest surprise U.S. men's national team player not on the October roster?
Probably Sargent, right? I think that'd probably be the biggest surprise from my perspective. I mean, he has done very, very well overseas and in the first month of the season. And so just like we've seen Pulisic, we've seen even Tessman. The reason why Tessman's on this roster is because he's had a good start to his season with Lyon, right? And so again, there's many reasons as to why this might be. It could be a rest thing. It could be like, hey, to be fair, my guess is he's already made this roster. My guess is that Pochettino's already said, hey, dude, Josh, you're on this roster. Let me find some players. I gotta figure this out. That's my guess. We're less than a year out. This window is not as important as the last window, and not nearly, and it's way more important in November. And so I feel like it's maybe I'm getting a break. Hey, take a breather. You're on this team.
I mean, I think, probably Josh Sargent, if anything. I mean, what's the other option? Joe Scally? I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I'm not going to say he's a massive missing piece for this roster. But there's just so many out due to injury. So I don't know if it's much of a surprise. I mean, if you were to leave Adams, Musa, Dest, Cardoso, Reyna, any of those players off the list without them actually having a reason to not be on there, that would be a much different story. But there's a lot of players who are banged up right now. So I'd probably say Josh Sargent. I don't know if there's really anybody else that immediately pops off the list in my mind, but I don't know, Ryan, who do you think?
In my mind, it was Joe Scally. I think, and again, I know.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think it is this past weekend, I don't know if you guys paid attention, but Mönchengladbach lost the game 6-4, and Scally had 2 assists, created a lot of offense. And I don't watch a ton of Mönchengladbach. I don't know the exact way that they play.
Yeah.
But just the way that he's played going offensively, and if he wants to play this 3-4-3 with wingbacks, I think Scally could fit that mold really well, especially with Anthony Robinson being a little bit more offensive, and then you can kind of slide it in however you want. But I think Scally is a little bit surprising just to me, just the way that we've talked about with momentum and how they've played, and he's played really well recently.
Yeah, he has been a good surprise early this year, that's for sure. And he's just 22. He's the same age as Diego Luna. So
same age as me.
Yeah, same age as Ryan Glinsky.
It's true. And again, I mean, the whole point of this, and if we're looking at it from the standpoint as a former coach myself, I can tell you that there are reasons what I did in regards to preseason. A lot of it had to do with building some consistency with your lineup. But again, you're trying to eliminate, shortcomings in your roster. You're trying to understand who your players are, who your depth's going to be, and what key players are going to be coming in, obviously starting as well as players that are going to come off the bench. He's trying to identify his top 16 players. Okay, exclude the goalkeepers for a second. He's trying to identify who his top 16 players are. We've already kind of established he's got about 14 of them, right, give or take. Right, and so there's 2 players in the mix there that are going to find their way in there: a Josh Sargent, a Gio Reyna, a number of other possible players, potential players in there. Again, hey, a Luna could be in there. Do I think that Luna could make this roster? Yes, I do. But do I think that he'll be an impact player? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful, that he can build upon what he's done, but time will tell. But that's the whole purpose of this October window. And if he can do that, if he can solidify who he thinks will be on this roster, and I guess what are we looking for, too, out of players, right? Like, what are we looking for out of Pulisic? Pulisic, right, we're looking for from him. We're looking to see that same form he's got right now with, AC Milan. Are we going to see that same form? We're going to see something different. My guess is we're going to see something different. I mean, he was in the same kind of windows back last month, having the same kind of a start. And so it's like, we saw an assist out of him, but I don't. That second game against Japan, he was way more dangerous. But we could argue a number of reasons as to why that might be. Hey, the U.S. Youth 20 side yesterday did stun France 3-0. It was 3 late second half goals that were scored in that one. Again, the goals coming, just to kind of put things in perspective, the 85th minute, the 88th minute, and the 90th +2 is where the U.S. Soccer team did their damage. Again, it was a 3-0 group stage win. That game took place in Santiago, Chile yesterday, and they have punched their ticket into the knockout rounds with that victory yesterday.
Yay, U20s.
So my question for you is, how important is this before we dive out of here, how important is that for U.S. soccer, having the U20s as we get ready for this 2026 World Cup? Does this have any impact whatsoever on the whole, like the upcoming World Cup, or is this a completely separate thing?
I mean, it's a sign of progress. I think we can certainly take it as that. I mean, you beat France, like that's a big deal, and you did it off 3 late goals. I mean, that scoring line is bizarre. Like, we looked at it. I mean, it's good to keep it in perspective, right? I mean, I don't think it has any sort of outward impact on the World Cup itself. I think we brought up an interesting point a little bit earlier. You know, the truth is that, you know, players are playing so young that if they're really the real deal, they're probably not going to be on the U20 team. But I mean, from a prospects and development perspective, you know, we go toe to toe with France and we beat them to get to the knockout stage. Yeah, that's really important. I mean, think about the last time we played France. We played them in the Olympics. And I'm pretty sure that was, if I'm not mistaken, the U20 team, right? And I think they lost 3-0 or whatever it was. I think they got smacked around. So to go from where they were there to go out and beat them 3-0 this time around, that to me is a massive sign of progress. And that is a major soccer playing country in France too. I mean, that's no joke, you know? So I think it's important to keep that in perspective. I think it's awesome to see. I think it's a sign that the U.S. continues to take steps forward in terms of their development and their play. And it's also a good revenge game for that squad too. So there's a lot to love about it. Does it have any direct impact on the World Cup? I don't think. But I mean, it just kind of shows that, okay, that's another little step in the right direction for the U.S.
It doesn't affect this World Cup. If anything, it affects the 2030, 2034 World Cups.
Yeah.
Again, our 2 best prospects, Matthias Albert, not on the team. Daniel Koshin, who was on the team, but Barcelona was dumb because they lost their other goalie. But it just, you know, just gives the group of guys, you know, some cohesiveness if they end up making it to the senior team. So it's not a huge thing, but, you know, just gives the guys another opportunity to play with each other, get to know each other on and off the field, and ultimately that'll help them in their clubs and for the men's senior team.
No doubt about it.
Agreed.
Coming up here tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, we'll have the NISA Pro Cup draw. Again, that will kick off here at 8 p.m. Eastern here on NSN, only on Roku TV. So you can only watch it on our Roku TV channel here this evening. That's where we will draw all 8 teams. They're currently all in this bag here right now, in this salt bag. Right, you thought, why are they the salt bag? Well, Salt is an official sponsor of NSN and also official sponsor of the NISA Pro Cup. So we will pull the names out of this bag, drop them into a jar, a glass jar, we want to call it, and draw the names here tonight and have some fun. But that will all kick off tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NSN. That'll wrap up this week's coverage of Inside the Game, number 172, officially in the books. We'll be back at it here again on Monday as we have more interviews, more coverage of all things soccer. We will also get ready for our big NISA Pro Cup week coming up here the following week. And a scheduling reminder, we will not be here on the air the week of the 13th through the 17th. We'll talk more about that next week and the reason as to why. But that will wrap it up. For Ryan Galinsky and Nathan Wengler, my name's Jonathan Turner. Happy to have you again here. Don't forget, subscribe, like us, share this with your friends and family, and come back here on Monday. Same time, same place on Inside the Game. From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wengler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.